Kids pick up strange habits from what they see. This is especially true for young toddlers who are very curious and mimic almost everything. But this particular young boy had a strange habit that drove his parents crazy with worry. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like and share this video with your friends. The mystery of where the boy got this strange habit had driven a wedge between his parents. They were suspicious of each other, and soon enough, one started to call the cops on the other. Dorothy and Michael decided to part ways just a few months after their son, Aiden, was born. It was a messy split, and the couple was not on good terms most of the time. But for the sake of Aiden, they found a way to make co-parenting work. Dorothy and Michael agreed to joint custody. Aiden would stay 1 week with Michael and the following week with Dorothy, and so on. This way, they can spend an equal amount of time with their child, and Aiden gets to grow up with both his parents present. The arrangement was going smoothly despite their issues until one day, Dorothy noticed something strange. She saw Aiden was doing something odd when he came back from spending time with Michael. At about noontime, Aiden walked into the living room. He then pulled down his pants and stared into them for a few minutes before he continued playing with his toys. Dorothy observed him for a moment and continued preparing lunch, thinking he was just curious. Dorothy did not put much thought into it until Aiden did the same thing again the next day and the day after that. Aiden would stare into his pants for about 3 to 5 minutes. This was a new behavior, and Dorothy wondered about it and feared that it had turned into a habit. Was Aiden just curious? Aiden was at that age where he would find everything fascinating. But Dorothy never saw him this fixated over something. Could there be something wrong with what's inside his pants? The next time Dorothy saw Aiden stop and stare inside his pants again, she decided to take a look herself. She laid her toddler down and took off his pants. She checked his legs, but there was no indication that something was bothering him. There must be a reason why Aiden kept staring into his pants. But he kept doing it, and Dorothy noticed that he does it every 12:13 at noontime. But this can't be a coincidence. Aiden was too young to tell the time yet. Then, Dorothy became suspicious of her ex-husband. A few weeks before Aiden picked up this weird habit, Dorothy started dating someone new. Michael found out, and he sent her a very angry letter about it. He wrote a lot of hurtful things, and she remembered that he threatened to make her life miserable. Could Michael be responsible for what was happening to their son? Did his father teach him to do that so she would be worried all the time? What if there was more to it? Maybe he was using their child to spy on her and her new boyfriend. After all, Michael was the controlling and jealous type. But would he go this far? Dorothy did not want to believe it, but the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. She had a half-day job, so Michael knew she would be home before noon. Aiden happens to do this weird habit at around noontime when she is already home. Maybe he had hidden a recording device or chip in Aiden's clothes, and that's why Aiden kept looking into his pants. Dorothy carried Aiden to bed and undressed him with this thought in mind. She checked her clothes and then his skin. She even went as far as checking Aiden's shoes. She found nothing. But despite the lack of evidence, Dorothy was convinced that Michael was spying on her and that he was using their son. She decided to call the cops. After hearing that a toddler was involved, the cops immediately sent a team to Michael's house, and he was taken to the precinct for questioning. About an hour later, the cops came knocking on Dorothy's door. The officer came by to give Dorothy an update. They told her Michael was caught off guard when they arrived at the house, but when they interrogated him, he seemed like he had no idea about any kind of spying. When the cops asked if he had put any spyware on his son's pants, Michael seemed genuinely shocked. This did not make any sense. But then again, if Michael was spying on her, he would have known that she called the cops on him. The officer then said that he has a tool that can detect spy chips on the body, and he'd like to try it out on her son. Dorothy nodded and called Aiden to the living room. The officer used a device to scan his body thoroughly. It did not detect anything. The officer told Dorothy that Aiden was clean. She did not have to worry about spy chips on her son. A few hours later, Dorothy got an unexpected call. It was Michael. Her eyes widened when she heard his voice. Was he going to threaten her again? But to her surprise, Michael did not sound mad or threatening at all. He told Dorothy about the cops and asked if the cops gave her a visit too. He just wanted to confirm that everything was okay with Aiden. It seemed that he had no idea Dorothy was the one responsible for it all. Dorothy decided to come clean. She explained how Aiden had been acting strangely during noontime, and she could not find a reason why. She suddenly remembered the letter he sent her a few weeks ago and became suspicious. Dorothy confessed that she called the cops and told them that Michael might be spying on her through Aiden. She apologized and told him she was just thinking of her safety. The timing of his threatening letter and Aiden's habit was just too close. For the first time in a long time, Dorothy heard Michael apologize. He explained that the letter was written and sent in the heat of the moment, and he did not mean it. He had been seeing a psychiatrist to work on his anger and jealousy issues. He also added that he would never use their son to spy on her. So if it was not Michael, what was going on with their son? Dorothy asked if Aiden does the same thing when he's with Michael. Michael confirmed that Aiden does his noontime habit in his place too. Dorothy and Michael agreed that they needed to figure out what was going on with their son as soon as possible. Michael suggested they see a doctor about it. Dorothy told Michael she would make an appointment. During the checkup, the doctor bribed Aiden with a lollipop so that he would behave and stay still during the examination. Aiden's eyes instantly lit up and nodded. The doctor examined Aiden's body thoroughly. After 10 minutes, he still could not find anything odd. "Your boy is perfectly fine and healthy," he told Dorothy and Michael. The doctor then suggested that they keep a close eye on Aiden and his surroundings at noon to help figure out what was causing this. Dorothy watched Aiden like a hawk over the next few days. He would still stare down his pants at noontime like clockwork. She tried to do her research to figure out this kind of behavior, but she could not find anything about Aiden's odd habit. Could it be that her son was not just normal? Then her phone started ringing. It was the doctor. He told her that he just thought of something, and he wanted to see Aiden as soon as possible. They arranged an appointment for noontime the next day. The next day, Dorothy, Michael, and Aiden arrived at the doctor's office at noon. The doctor sat them down and checked the clock. It was almost 12:13. He told them they had to wait for Aiden to do his strange habit. It made sense now why the doctor wanted to see them at noon. He wanted to see for himself and diagnose Aiden from there. They watched the clock tick to 12:13 and all eyes were on Aiden. But to their surprise, Aiden did not do anything at all. Dorothy and Michael looked at each other. What was going on? Is it because Aiden is not at home? Then the doctor took out a small radio and asked if they had a favorite radio station. Dorothy and Michael answered the same station number. The doctor turned to the station number, and once the radio started playing, Aiden pulled his pants down and stared. The doctor smiled and said that his theory was correct. Dorothy and Michael looked at him, waiting for an explanation. The doctor asked them if they listened to this radio station during noon. Both of them answered yes. They wanted to listen to music while they prepared lunch. The doctor's smile got wider. You can tell he was glad that he cracked the case wide open. The doctor told the concerned parents that Aiden was just trying to dance. As a toddler, he still did not know how to express it yet. The doctor realized this as he was listening to the radio one day and noticed how a baby tried to move his head to the catchy music. Dorothy and Michael could not believe it. What a strange way for a child to express himself. The doctor suggested baby dance classes. In time, Aiden learned to dance along with the music and never dropped his pants again.